everybody. Welcome to the winter edition of the Roadshow. And this is a podcast that's designated ice right now. And we're going to talk about ice. We got a great show tonight. Sam and I are going to be talking to Nick Cox from Razor Augers. And what separates them from the rest? Why are more augers from their booth leaving the shows? It's going to be awesome talk. And we've got tips and techniques coming up, going hardcore in crappies and bluegills. But before I say any more, I want to thank Chesterburg Toyota of Bemidji, state-of-the-art facilities. Whether you want to get a brand new legendary truck, Toyota or other brands that they have in a lot, new or used, and get yours, oil change, tires, you name it, state-of-the-art, really great customer service. Stop in and say hi to Brian and the gang. They will take care of you. Awesome place, and they always have coffee on, so stop in there. Chesterburg Toyota, and then Frank's Great Outdoors in Linwood, Michigan. Frank's, they are ice heads. They love ice fishing, and they have some great deals. And don't forget about Shanty Days. They have super good deals on otter, and they will ship it right to your house. Hey, Nathan, good to see you're with us. But Frank's Shanty Days is December 13th through the 15th, and it's just unbelievable deals. I can't tell you how much. All right, Patty, she won last year, Daryl. Last week, actually, not last year. Hey, Joseph. So 13th through the 15th at Frank's Great Outdoors for Shanty Days. Fun place, and just love it there. And they will send you what you need, whether it's otter or sunline. Where do you get sunline? Right to your house. So look them up, Frank's Great Outdoors online. And remember, I'm going to be at the Ultimate Sports Fishing Show in Novi, and that's coming up in January. So January 9th through the 12th, I'll be doing seminars. Hey, Matt. Seminars right there at the Ultimate Sport Fishing Show in Novi. This is a huge show, and I will be there. And then welcome aboard Timberline Sports in Black Duck. You all know that. If you're going to Red Lake or Lake of the Woods, stop in at Timberline. They have a huge selection of tackle. They even have Fish Monkey gloves. You can get a pizza, live bait, and you should see the gun selection. So there's a lot of people that go fishing, and they end up buying guns there and everything. But Carl and the gang there will take good care of you, John. They are the best up there, and they know what's going on. They have sage advice and great bait. So how can you beat that? So whether you're going to Lake of the Woods or Red Lake, stop in and load up. So before I go any farther here, my co-host, Sam Larson, a man of many different names. He's a designer, a painter, multiple tournament winner. He got the walleye stamp for Minnesota, that's a tough deal, and he got it. And he also got the turkey stamp for next year. Come on in, Sam Larson.
Hey, bro, how's it going?
Great. The designer formerly known as Sam. Now tell me, how are things going?
It's going good. We are in full winter mode up here. It feels a little weird after last year, but things are cold. We have cold temps in the day, cold temps at night, and I tell you what, lakes are building ice hourly at this point. Yesterday, I drove by some stuff. It was kind of the edges were locked up, but not the middle. Today, some of those smaller lakes, the middles are locking up. Lake Irving in town almost looks locked up, so we're gaining ice quickly, and it's great to see. So,
fantastic! And last year is ice going to come? And when it did come, then we get 70, 80 degrees in the middle of January in northern Minnesota, and my friends in Wisconsin and Michigan, they weren't happy, and not everybody could drive way up north. So it's good to see. And I have a couple pictures of ice here. I found some stuff that was locked up tight, and this is 2 days ago. So it's making ice, and there's fish in there, but you're not getting me out there unless there's 4 inches of ice. I'm a svelte person, and the DNR says 4 on foot, so I'm going to go by that. And but I have my razor auger and a tape measure to go and measure, and I have it hooked up on a board so I could just hook the bottom of the ice on a little scooper. So it looks great. We're super excited, and ice fishing people. There's gals, guys, we're all just crazy about it, and it's a multi-state thing. So super looking good, super excited, and looking forward to getting on it. So Sam, what's the prize pack for tonight? And then we'll keep going here.
As always, we got some awesome Northland stuff here. So I put together a bunch of the new products you'll be able to sample.
Wow. Ooh.
Good stuff here. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, and share, and that'll get you entered in to win on that. And then also, we got Nick Cox coming on too, right?
Yes.
Is
And
Nick,
Nick might have an announcement too, but we'll wait and see what he has to say. But and congratulations to Patty Mercer for winning our prize pack last week. I hope you can enjoy that and auger and get out and catch some fish. And so, Sam, you might have some winning prints coming up. Where can people find those?
Yep. So I got an
Thanks,
Etsy page. Just search Sam Larson Art, and you'll be able to find that up. So right now, I have the walleye stamps up there. I'm actually going to try to get a bunch of these built out and ready so I can ship them quick if you're looking for a Christmas gift. And then I just approved the print of the first turkey stamp for this year. So I'll be putting in the production order for those prints as well. So they'll be available soon. So just search Sam Larson Art on Etsy. The links are also on my social media accounts too. So.
And this is a good time. We're talking about ice, and I know in Wisconsin people are in their deer stands and they're putting in their time. They want to get a buck. Good luck to everybody there. But like I've said, and I've written in some of my articles, it's hard to sit in a deer stand. Where I hunt, I could see the lake, and I can't see. I watch people ice fish. It ain't going to happen too long. I'm out of there right away, and so I love that. And this is cool. This is a fish monkey glove. I feel like this is something from Marvel Comics. Like, remember the Nightcrawler? Okay, maybe no one knows what I'm talking about, but pretty cool gloves and probably one of my favorites. There's nothing like this with a PVC grip. Love this stuff. I just want to show everybody. I wore this a lot. I handle fish, and then you can put your finger through, if you have to rub your eye. But pretty cool stuff. Just one of these unique things that doesn't see the light of day as much, and I just want to show people that. But before we go too far here, what do you say, Sam? Brooke, bring on Nick Cox from Razor Auger. He's a vice president of Razor Auger. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Sam and bro.
Good to have you. And I've been at the show. I've been in your booth. I've been outside of the booth, and I see those auger boxes going out. What's the secret? What keeps those things flying out the door? And I know you have a lot to do with it, but tell us more about it.
Well, I think you have a lot to do with it, and all of our wonderful customers have everything to do with it. Really, it's a lot of organic growth. Just people get a chance to use it. They let their buddy try it. They might be in the market for a new auger. They might have something a little heavier right now, and they go and try the Razor out. You can't beat the prices. Some of these incentives this year at the shows are just unbeatable. So if you do want to get yourself an ice auger, a Razor ice auger, this would be the time to do it right about now, as everybody's gearing up for ice.
And I got this here because every auger is different. But explain this, because I love this. I've had such good success with it. I guide with it. I drill. I razor thousands of holes. Let's talk about this. Let's explain it from the bottom up.
Yeah. Okay. So what makes a Razor ice auger, one of the most efficient augers out there is the curved blade style. You'll see there's two blades on the bottom of that auger bro is holding, twin serrated stainless steel blades on a curved head. And so I like to explain to people, if you've ever had a chance to put a deck screw into a deck or a piece of wood, you notice that you're not sitting there and pushing on it for it to actually, engage and screw into the wood. It's the same concept with the Razor ice auger. The cutting end, the business end, is doing most of the work, drawing the auger down through that ice layer by layer. So you're not having to horse on it or push down and just fatigue your equipment and your body. But I would say, coming down to one of the number one reasons why Razor is leaving the building is just they're efficient, they're fast, and they're priced right.
And this is something you hook up to a power drill. So you don't need anything more than that. And Sam was going to say something here.
Yeah. So I think, when we started the show, I've always been the big proponent of the best all-around auger for a Minnesota guy is an 8-inch, right? But the longer I've got to know you, the longer I've got to know Razor, I find my garage now has a shelf full of different size razors. Talk a little bit about the size options you offer and where some excel over others.
Yeah. So some people might look at it and say, well, why would you need anything other than a 6 and 8 inch unit? And that's a great question. But there are anglers out there that are using these augers for different techniques. So we offer, a full size from 4-inch all the way up to 8-inch, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in our Scout series. We've got our popular 6 and 8-inch models in our synthetic, our lightweight series. But guys are using, and anglers are using 4-inch models for what's right about around the corner, a checking ice. I mean, you can go out there with the chisel, or you can just do like a dry socket as Bro does. It might be 4 inches of ice. He's going down 3 inches. He's walking, he's going, he's doing his thing. But just think outside the box. Don't just think because you've seen for years 6 and 8-inch augers on the shelves at all the retailers that's what you need to buy. We are kind of against the grain, and we are offering those unique sizes that don't have a lot of volume, but the longer we've had them out, the more and more people are becoming open to using them. So 4-inch, great for camera work, checking ice. 5-inch is great for panfish. Not a lot of light penetration coming through the hole. 6-inch, we've seen a lot of big fish come out of 6-inch holes.
Bro's the master at that.
Yeah. Bro, you are the master.
They get stuck too, and we got a photo here. Last week we talked about a peanut. Well, here's a peanut image here. So the thing is with Razor, I could overlap the other hole and make a peanut. If you go any bigger, this is a 6-inch drilled one over the other. If you make it too big, make sure to mark it with a stick or a branch. That's you don't want someone falling down there and losing their boot, but I don't think our boots would go through this hole, but you could pull up any size fish in there. And we've had to do this. We've had to do this on the fly with a fish on the line. So don't do that all the time, because you're going to hit the fish or you're going to cut your line. You got to really be careful. And but that's the thing about it. It doesn't move around. That center point digs and it goes. And augers have come a long way. I've been drilling holes for so many years, and it's less effort to drill a hole than to walk across the ice, and that's the whole thing. And for panfish, a 6-inch auger is perfect for any panfish. 2-pound I pulled crappies up to 2.5 out of that hole, and we get some real wide ones. I would get nervous if it's pushing 3 pounds maybe, but then if you think you're going to get something like that, make a peanut. That's all you got to do.
Or also, if depending on what you're fishing for, just plan for that. So if you're going after big pike, plan for a bigger auger. If you're going to predominantly target panfish, you can use a 6-inch auger. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have a slimer come in every once in a while and try to steal your bait and give you a run for your money. But just plan ahead, right? That's why we offer all the different sizes.
And Sam, what do you use for a drill?
I was just going to say, we ask you this all the time. I'm a DeWalt guy. I use the DeWalt brushless. But Nick, talk a little bit about drill specs, because people want to know what kind of drill you need to run these razors.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, if you're just getting to this, there's on our website, razoriceaugers.com, you go into our resources page, you search drill specs, you're going to find all kinds of different articles and information that we've posted about drill types, models that we've used and recommended, etc. But ideally, if you're walking into a store on Black Friday and you're looking to get equipped with a brushless drill, you can stay with whatever brand you like, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Rigid, whatever it happens to be. Just a few key specs. You're going to want it to be 18 volt or higher brushless. You're going to want to have a side stabilizer handle, and you're going to want to have a minimum 5 amp hour battery. A lot of times the questions are, how much torque do I need? Do I need well, in the last 5 years, so much has changed with this drill technology that really anything off the shelf is going to work for you today. Just as long as you got that 18 volt or higher, the 5 amp hour minimum battery in the handle.
And if they don't have a side handle, they're going to find out how many bones they have in their wrist.
Yes, it is very important. I see it all the time. Anglers using one arm or one hand to drill a hole. You could run into anything in that ice, right? A piece of wood or anything, and that would ruin your day. So always just take the precautionary stance of, you know what, I want both of these hands. I'm going to use the handle or a clam drill plate or a razor drill base. We've got all kinds of options. If you don't have a handle on your drill, to still utilize our augers and do it safely.
That's the key. If it's comfortable, if it's going to work for you, that's what you want, and you don't want to burn it out. Great facts and great stuff to know. And one thing I want to tell people too, you don't need all metal. This plastic here is virtually indestructible, and this has been many times has gotten even tougher and tougher. And if you use an auger the right way, you'll never break it. I never break any of these, but if I give my augers to other people, I don't know if they just karate chop it or something. They've never broke a razor, but they've brought back a lot of other brands to me busted if I borrow them out, and that's everything that exists. But this one is really bulletproof, and I think it's going to last a long time. So, Nick, tell people where you're going to be at in the next couple of weeks if they want to come out and razor holes.
Yeah, well, we've got Thanksgiving tomorrow, so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And then, in a week or so, we'll be at the St. Paul Ice Show. You'll be able to find Razor Ice Augers in Reed's, Thorne Brothers, Marine General, Up North Sports, and there's a couple other smaller dealers in the house that'll be carrying razors. So check us out there. If you're not going to have a chance to come down to St. Paul and you're maybe over in the Wisconsin area, we'd love to see you at the Oshkosh, Wisconsin Ice Expo. It was a killer show last year, one of the best shows we've been to in our time in history in 5 years as a company. And we look forward to going out there again. That was a great one. So lots of people, lots of like-minded people just thinking and talking ice fishing.
And it's perfect timing, really, because it's starting to freeze up everywhere. And I see we got a lot of questions. We're going to save some of the panfish questions for when we go hardcore here in a little bit. And so we see some of that. And then someone was asking Nick specifically, are you giving away an auger tonight too?
Well, yeah, I'd say for the next 5 comments, you guys decide what I should give away. So you guys decide if it's an 8-inch Ultra or a 6-inch Ultra. But I'd say I'll watch the next few comments, and then Bro and Sam, you guys just pick. You guys just pick a winner, and I'm gonna look, and I'm gonna surprise that angler with a new auger.
So, do you want a 6 or do you want an 8?
Yeah, or a 4, or a 5,
or 4 or 5. Oh my gosh, too many decisions here. We'll see what they have to say.
Like I said, I used to say you only need one auger, but again, instead of buying a $400 auger nowadays, you buy 3 razors and that makes it up. But when I'm going pan fishing, I grab the 6. When I go for walleyes, grab the 8. It's really nice to have a little quiver full of augers there. So, Bro just always grabs the 6.
Yeah, because you can do anything where you could drill a lot of holes, and everybody knows I kick every hole flat. And maybe that is how people find my holes, because I don't leave volcanoes. So I kick every hole flat, not a single hole. If I want you to find the hole, I'll leave a volcano. And sometimes they do that, sprinkle some minnows around, call them dummy holes. But
yeah, that's good.
Not that the people are dummies, but it's a little different than open water. When you leave a spot, everything settles down. But Nick, it was great to have you. We're going to have you again. We appreciate the giveaway. And everybody, if you're going to the St. Paul Ice Show, stop by Razor Augers, or you're going to Oshkosh, stop by there and let's razor some holes. Thanks for coming out.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Thanks, everyone.
Well, Sam, what do you think? It's time to go hardcore here. And before we get into deep crappies, early ice, what should people look for? What are some simple clues that they could use when they're checking out early ice to know if it's any good for any thickness?
So I always travel with the spud bar early in the year. And like we just talked about, I'm bringing my 6-inch razor and drilling a lot as we go.
That 4-inch is good for that too.
Yeah, I don't have that one yet. I might have to call up Nick after the show and get one of those for checking too. But I think we always say, if you don't know, don't go. So know what you're walking on, drill a lot, especially this early season. Thankfully, we've had kind of a consistent cool down in the north, but areas where you get a cold snap and then a warm snap, a lot of times you see a lot of fluctuating ice where ice is shifting around and freezing into each other. So just make sure you're checking a lot. Safety gear, ropes, life jackets. If this is always not a bad idea to have a life jacket or a throwable, but just be safe. DNR recommends 4 inches. If you're going out on 4 inches walking, that's usually pretty safe. But no ice is ever safe ice, so always just be cautious.
And I agree with you. And then what I do is I take I have a 6-inch and I have a 4-inch auger, and I will take a marker. I measure 4 inches of ice on here. All right, I take a tape measure and I put 4 and I marker around it. And when I hit that, that's all I need. I don't need to drill all the way through and just have a hole so you can watch the water moving when you're going by. As soon as I hit 4, I keep going dry socket and I keep running down. But that's a smaller auger works too. And you don't need some like small, tiny power tool. These things are great. You could always carry too much stuff too. So, and if you don't know, don't go.
Or the 6 or even the 8 rips through it so quickly. Oh. It's really easy to do nowadays. And it's, it's one, you're dragging your sled with one hand, carrying the auger with another hand, stop, drill your hole, check. Like I said, ice fishing has become so much more user-friendly in the last 10 years now that it's easy to do.
Well, and when we go ice fishing, there's no limit. Like in a boat, you have limitations of how many people can go. You have life jackets and all the stuff. On ice, you could take your whole town out there. I mean, don't go to a small lake and do it, but I mean, there's no limitations. Ice is social. It's fun. It's just a different deal, and that's why everybody loves it. People who are outside of the ice belt come to the ice belt to fish, and I've had people from Louisiana, Florida, all over the place, and it is a treat for them. It's a bucket list and really enjoyable. But the one thing is always look for cracks that are natural in the ice, and look for the crack and follow the width of the crack. You can see it if there's no snow on the ice. If there's snow on the ice, you're not going to see that, or if it's opaque. But cracks, they're like welded shut. If they're moving, don't walk by them. But typically, they're not going to break there. It's going to break somewhere else when it's cold, and they're visual. So we'll get off of that now. And now, Sam, you were talking about a question that we get all the time about different weights to rod actions. And what's some advice we could give people on this?
Well, I think the biggest thing here. So I said, like, it's with the razor, it's with the equipment. Everything has progressed so much in the last 10 years as far as ice fishing. And I find every time I invest in a little better equipment, it makes the experience that much more enjoyable. So St. Croix's got a huge lineup of ice rods now that are really, really high quality. And I think they make the experience more enjoyable. What are some of your favorites?
Well, like when I use a St. Croix rod, every rod is designed with a different action, different weight, medium light, medium, extra fast, all that stuff. So the whole thing is don't put a big lure on a light tip rod. You want to be able to make that lure move around. You don't want to take and jig it in your rod bending. And I have that a lot of times. I'll let people use a panfish rod and they'll tie a big lure in it. So we don't want that. That's they're actually jigging and the rod's bending as they're jigging. And trust me, to some that doesn't sound like something you'd ever not do. But if every time you jig the rod bending like that from the weight of the jig, it's too light. It's that simple. And you want backbone. And then on hook sets, we get this question a lot. I mean, how do you set the hook, Sam?
I like to give them a pretty good set, but not like a bass fishing set though. Slipping a little bit of drag, lifting that up, getting tension on the fish as quick as possible is kind of my go-to.
Well, and there's been a question here, and someone was asked, can you use a power head from a different auger with that? If you're at the shows, talk to Nick about that. They had a power auger, but is more popular for people who use power tools because it's a dual purpose thing, and kind of the end of power heads now. There's no need for any kind of lithium or motorized power head because you could just use it. The tool market stuff's way more advanced. And then, what's your personal best crappie? We got that one. So Sam, what is it?
Oh gosh, I think I know it's somewhere in the 15-inch range. I've never hit the 16-inch mark. My wife has, but I haven't. But it's a good Bemidji crappie. It's been a few years since I've got on some really big giants, so I'm gonna try to chase those down here this winter. How about you?
Well, yeah, I've had the biggest on a guide trip. I had a 212, but that doesn't count. I wasn't fished for crappies, and that was on a big body of water that's shaped like a hand. But anyway, that's all the clues you're getting out of me. And but recently I've had some quite a few 2.5s, 2 pounds 5 ounces, and that's weighed on digital scale. And I have a very accurate scale I use in my tournaments, and it's something to behold. They're just wonderful. And so we get a lot of questions about where do you find these fish, and then before I say that, let's talk about hook sets. When I set the hook, it's I'm using Northland tackle and Gamakatsu hooks. My feet don't leave the ground. I have people that set the hook, they hit the roof of the tent. When I'm walleye fishing, you gotta kind of just lean into it. So just pull up on it if you're using Gamakatsu or Northland. Sometimes you have to pop it to set it in if it's a really big mark, but for the most part, you just kind of lift and start reeling. Set the hook with your reel. You're not going to lose any fish. So getting into, the different types of habitat that you're going to find when you're fishing for crappies, from early ice on, big crappies, or any crappies, because big crappies will roam in schools and kind of be a part of it. And so one of the things we talked about last week is walleyes and jumbo perch in hard bottom areas, but crappies, they need more forage in on shallower bodies of water. If I have to pick on, like, let's say giant ones like Red Lake, crappies are going to hold to sometimes off. There's logs laying in the bottom of that lake, and there's rocks. And where I fish crappies and have fished crappies out there, there's rock edges and mud. And so they need insect life to feed. And zooplanktons, micro insect, we can't see it. Bigger insects they'll eat too, but they're lucky. They got fine gill rakers, so they can sift out matter as they're swimming along. Kind of like big whales will eat micro shrimp because they have, the baleen sifts them out. Well, black crappies sift out micro insects and just get a big pile of mush, and they swallow it, and they get a stomach full of stuff. And when you fillet them, you'll see that looks like mud in their stomach. And if you break it apart, it's micro insects. And really fascinating. They can live in environments that a lot of fish can't, especially if they aren't able. They have to stay near the food. In crappies, any place there's mud, there's going to be more life billowing out of it. And minnows, of course, they'll eat. But we've been really well. That's very interesting. The flat fry, and we'll be talking about that too. Great, Goose. That's awesome. But the thing with crappies is they have binocular vision, just like bluegills do, but they can also see in very much low light conditions. And a lot of times they have a state, and I don't want to give it away because it's coming out in my Midwest Outdoors article, and they get in this state that they feed at night, and we get some really big ones. And I got a picture here of a crappie that I got in the late hours, and there's some real magnums in the area, and we'll see if Brooke has. There it is. Now you notice I need light, and I'm in my otter hub with Heather and catching giant crappies, but they don't grow on trees anywhere. But if you fish, you'll get them. And this was not a deep spot. It was a real weedy lake that didn't have any deep water, and we were fishing on the edge, and a lot of insect life. And as weeds decay, bloodworms and other things come off those weeds. And that's where Sam, for many years that you've been designing lures, that's why it's about insect and micro minnows, because there's a whole bunch of little micro minnows. And how do you approach that for like the pin fry?
Yeah. So, we always try to develop a good array of stuff, and the flat fry is, I think, the best plastics jig we ever designed. It hangs horizontal. It's got a flat back, but a lot of anglers were requesting smaller micro presentations, and I think that flat fry, it looks like a minnow, but it also looks like a tiny little bug there, and it was just a natural progression for panfish.
Well, even at night, what I've noticed, and glow colors are fantastic, but if you just go with one train of thought, I'm going to go out and just use glow. This Wonderbit was really good for crappies, and this is a tungsten buckshot I used last year. But it's not just about glow. I did really good, like that crappie, and a lot of them we caught with metallic colored lures. After it, everything gets. If you got a night with any kind of stars and some light, metallic lures could really make a big difference. And so shallow ice,
Natural
there's
presentation.
it's a natural, correct. It's a natural presentation, and it's pretty hard to beat Wonder Bread, as a color or any of that stuff. But one thing to remember is clear ice versus opaque ice or snow. If you get snow cover in the ice, that changes everything. You're going to get fish earlier, right before sunset and after. And I'm talking about lakes. In my area, a lot of lakes are gin clear and have 20 feet of water clarity. And we have these lakes during the day. If you have a major tournament out there, someone's going to get them during the day, and there's going to be a tornado of crappie somewhere. But for the most part, if you don't have time to look or chase them around nighttime, it's so easy. They get into the state, they unhinge their jaw and swim through, and that's when you could really get on them. And some great questions here. What about selective harvest? We get this question all the time. Sam, what size do you normally keep?
I like to keep that. I try to be right around 10. That I think a 10-incher is perfect for me. I like to stay under 11, and I will keep a 9, but you got to kind of keep more fish if you're keeping the 8s and 9s to make a meal. So that 10 is always ideal for me. I think they talked about barotrauma too. If I'm fishing over 20 feet of water, I'm catching to keep, and I'm done as soon as I hit the amount of fish I want, just because those fish have a lot of trouble recovering deeper than that.
Well, and I agree with you. And it's always been known with panfish, it's better to keep different sizes, not just target one. And it's good that way for crappies, for bluegills, perch, and so multiple sizes. And if you keep them under 12 in that 9, 10, 11-inch range, they don't all have to be 11s. And that's the thing with deep water. If you're fishing deep water, don't drop a big house. I've talked to people many times who are sitting out in 40 feet of water with a clicker. You can't throw anything back. Just go there in an otter, something you could set up real easy and leave. And if you're out to fish deep water, you can only take what you catch. Don't catch anymore. Don't throw them back. If they swim away, and we've seen stuff on the internet how they show them swimming away, and they're using forward viewing that they go down the bottom, but it doesn't show what happens to them later, because if they have their capillaries are sticking out of the bottom of their throat, they're going to be dead. They're dead. And I used to capture fish and for many years, and you'd have a few that would survive in different situations, but the whole thing is if their capillaries are popped out, and even shallower lakes that only get to 20 feet, some of those fish will come up with a little bag in their throat. So regardless of what they live, they don't live.
It's a resource we all love a ton.
Yeah.
Don't risk it. Just try to protect it. Take what you want. And if you're on a deep bite, usually there's a shallow bite, or sometimes there's a shallow bite going on that lake too. So catch your ones to eat, and then go explore a different bite, a different species. We're not all scientists, but what we do know is if you catch them out of deep water, they are at risk of dying. So
yeah, even if they get back down there, and they're just not a real muscular fish. They're not like a smallmouth bass. And smallmouth bass, they bite during the winter too. They're fun if you get them by accident. I try not to target them too much, because if it's cold outside, if you bring them up, any kind of fish, if you're going to throw back, don't freeze their eyes. We like to, in the otter, even if I'm running around the ice, I will go to the otter to get the picture of the fish, because you don't want to freeze their eyes. That's bad. Or their skin, and so very careful when you're taking pictures of fish. Do it in a warm environment, as warm as you can. And sometimes their fins or if they do get frozen, you got to keep them. But if they're a fish you got to throw back, just do it real quick and below zero temperatures. That's why we set up a house. Even if I'm going to fish outside, we take pictures in the house.
Bro, okay, so we talked about deep water, but one thing I noticed, on these last few open water trips, I'm always taking a look to see what's out in the basin, prepping for ice. And that's usually my first go-to bite, is looking for those basin crappies. But I was surprised at how many panfish were still up shallow. Do you target these shallow panfish bites early ice?
Yeah, there's I would say in our area, unfortunately, we 70% of the lakes have a deep basin bite, but there's a whole bunch of lakes that don't, and lakes that have a lot of vegetation. Some of our bigger waters, they're still holding to the edge of the vegetation, and they come out in the vegetation and feed on the muddy edges at night. And some of these lakes in the central part of the state, they're in the vegetation during the day and scattered and buried at the bottom, but then they come out and they work those edges at night, and there's some really big crappies to be had on all the big waters. Lakes that are over 2,000 acres, all of them have big crappies. Even if there's lakes with stunted crappies, they all have big crappies, and they're fun to catch. I get the big ones to get a picture, then I throw them back, and then little ones taste great. Cut their fillet in half, bellies and backs, and fry them separately. The back is thick, so it takes more time to get done. The stomachs fry fast, get crispy, and so you fry them at different intervals. And there's a little trick if you say crappies are mushy, cut the belly from the back and fry them separately. But we're getting questions too. How do you stay quiet on early ice? And the thing is to stay on snowbanks. I'd say even early ice, if we don't get much snow, you still get those flakes that just come out of the air, from the moisture in the air, and you get some pile ups in the wind. But if you have none, it's hard not to spook them. And running around on the ice with forward viewing and chasing fish like we did up at Red Lake and that stuff, I'm running around with people covering like quarter mile, half a mile, and I'm watching Heather, and she don't get a bite for a while, and then they're back over by her, and then everybody's running back over by her. So it's kind of funny. And then in our area, we don't have any white crappies up here. White crappies have a finer gill raker, where black crappies are close together. White crappies are finer, and they rely on feeding on minnows and large insects, and they seem to be in the lower third of the state more than in northern Minnesota. We're mainly black crappie, so good question. And then panfish to eat, all of them. I like everything, but my favorite, and I love bluegills. It's a toss up between bluegills and jumbo perch, because perch are so firm and bluegills are too. But we have so many perch available. They're like the corn for a farmer. They're the crop up here, and there's less bluegills there. We have a lot of hard bottom areas. We're a walleye destination, a jumbo perch destination with all this hard bottom, and we have a bluegill population. But it isn't like it is in western Minnesota, Brainerd, or southern Minnesota. We don't have like bluegills and crappies absolutely everywhere around here. We have small populations, so I tend to eat more perch and the right size of walleyes. They can't be too small, but they can be too big in my household. Heather won't eat them if they're over 18 inches. She don't like them. But great questions. You guys are awesome tonight. And how do you keep fish from dying? I do it all the time. I drive by deep spots, and sometimes I have to fish them. I need a photo. I need to put people on fish. I try not to, but if I can find a shallower bite, I will. In early ice, they don't always go deep. They start out on the edge and work their way deep as cold fronts happen. So that's one of the reasons they're going down there. But sometimes they drop in the fall, but it doesn't mean they stay there. They kind of come back. But then when all those cold fronts come rolling in, you get past Christmas and all that stuff, the crappies will drop down. But there's plenty of lakes to target. And we're not saying don't go deep. Just be cautious and set up the house shallow, somewhere on a walleye bite, and go visit the crappie hole is what I would recommend. And what does fizzing work? It's kind of it's a toss-up. Great question, though. Does fizzing work? I think it does. I actually caught a smallmouth bass that was fizzed in a rainy lake tournament. It had a big fizz hole in it, right where you fizz them, unless there was a bug that had a real good stabber on them, but it looked like a fizzed hole. And I think that they do live. There's multiple tournaments on this body of water, and it was a big fish. And but not every fish can. Some lake our fish can burp up the gas, like lake trout and eel powder really strong. Some lakes, walleyes are stronger than others, and I've seen that in reservoirs. A Cass Lake walleye can survive deeper water better than a Leech Lake walleye. I've seen Leech Lake walleyes get distended in the low 20s in Cass Lake. I know a tournament angler that caught a fish in 62 feet of water before the tournament, looking out there, caught it the next day in the tournament with blotches on it. So it's very touch and go. But with fizzing does help right a fish, but you could let out too many bubbles. And in the old days when we used to capture fish for different things, for recipe book, whatever, you had to fizz them and right them. So, but I don't think letting too much air out of most fish is going to help them. Crappies tend to die, and bluegills, perch, bigger fish, more muscular fish like bass, they are different in walleyes. So pretty cool. And here's one for you. So what product are you most excited to use this year, Sam?
I'm jacked for that tungsten buckshot. I think it's going to stay tied on my rod for every species, every situation. I'm going to give it a go. So it's just, like I said, again, with the advances in equipment, that tungsten just fishes better. It punches through the slush. It keeps your line taut. It's got really good noise. The cosmetics are absolutely beautiful on it. One thing to consider, though, with the tungsten buckshot, when we were talking about rod actions earlier, is that 3/8 ounce size we have is actually like the size of a 1/4 ounce lead spoon. And that's actually, when we were fishing with it, we were talking about we're going to need to up our rod game a little bit, because that 3/8 ounce bounces your rod so much. So, but that 1/8 and that 1/4 are just going to be my bread and butter. I'm going to try to catch everything on them. It's an awesome
small and heavy for their size. They really have the weight, and I think it's going to be really good. And they had, we had some predictions, good questions. The product I'm excited about, I can't tell you about, but I'll tell you about Wednesday the 18th. So there's something I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Razor, and I'm excited about the Otter. Fishing in a hub style house that has, rattle reels and rod holders. But I'm really excited about their aluminum roll top table, because I need, for equipment, whether it's camera gear and stuff, it is solid. I love it. And so I'm pretty excited, but we're going to find out here on this show what I'm excited about. And it's going to be a showstopper.
I'm excited. I don't even know what this is. I'm looking forward to it.
I have not told Sam, so he's going to find out. And
I'm intrigued.
There's some debuts coming out. And, one more question before we get what's your biggest perch? That's a great question.
I know yours is bigger. Again, I don't know my exact PB, but it's somewhere in the 14-inch range. I've never hit those super giants, but yeah, there we go.
You know what? I can't claim those. My biggest is 16.5. Never weighed it. Heather has 2 16.5s on the wall here, and those are monsters. We got those at Cascade, Idaho. We've only been there once. It was about 5 years ago, and I put her on a spot over an old sunken house, and there was no one around. We stayed away from the community spots, and she caught one, and then I was out drilling a mile of holes. Of course, I can't sit still, and she sent me a picture. She said, "Is this a walleye?" And I said, "No, it's not a walleye." I went back to her, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And the next day, she got another one, and she wanted to move because it was too slow there. And I caught a lot of fish where I was, but they were nothing like that. So you got to put your time in. And we noticed that, I don't want to say this because then they'll want to fish them out because they don't like warm water fish over there, but the perch were kind of keying in on the kokanee over there. And so I don't think they just eat bloodworms, but they were full of bloodworms. And so the pre-rigged bloodworm would be great over there. But that is a great question. And then
we got a good question about glass buckshot versus tungsten buckshot. What's the difference? So the biggest difference there is going to be the weight. So the glass buckshot has an internal lead spoon that's surrounded by that resin exterior. So as far as densities go, it's going to be a little less dense than even lead. So have a little bit more action. But again, that glass finish, the rattle on it, the noise really resonates. The cosmetics are beautiful. So that's really good. Flip side, that tungsten is just going to fish heavy. It's going to get down quick. It's not going to have as much action, but it's going to get your bait to the bottom. You're going to impart the action with your rod tip, and it's going to do exactly what your rod tip is doing because it's so heavy. It's not fluttering and going side to side. It's doing what your rod tip's doing. So tungsten, you're going to have more feel. It's going to be harder. Glass buckshot, a little bit more action, different noise, and cosmetics. So
I caught a lot of big walleyes on that, the glass buckshot, and I will always have that on. I love tungsten. You get spoiled. And favorite line, Sunline. I at a show years ago, I found it, and it is so strong for 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, 4 pound. The Sunline FC Fluoro Ice. If you get a chance to get it, try it. It is so far above anything. You can't find it anywhere. That's where you got to check out our vendors here, because even after checking it out last year, the store down the street, Max Mini Store, has it, because it's, if you try it, you'll get it. It might be harder to get or whatever, but Sunline, a lot of your bass pros, your walleye pros, all use it, and it's super strong. But clear, I like clear around here. If I'm going to use braid, I'm going to try, the green braid, but they have a Overwatch, which is a different changing color that I really like, and I might use on ice. Cut it at the black, tie the black to the lure, and if I'm inside, I like using a real micro thin braid. But Sunline's where it's at, and it won't absorb water as much. It's treated, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because there's so many ice fishing people. If you're over in Michigan, they have it made because it's all over the place, and we have it here and there. And but if you ever need some, you can check with Frank's Great Outdoors, carries it, and Max Mini Store if you're heading up to Red before you stop at Black Duck, and maybe Carl will get some too. But it is Sunline. That's what I love to use. And Sam, Crappie King, yep. Dressed or naked? You give a plastic or live bait? Really good question.
Ooh, depends on the day. But Northland's working on some cool plastic stuff. So I fished the naked one with the plastic a lot this summer, and I think you're really going to enjoy what they'll hopefully be doing a little early launch on next summer. So some cool stuff to come. So I did mostly jig and plastic, but if you don't have that plastic in the boat, the dressed one's a great option too.
Well, I see. Do you fish deep on clear lakes, early ice, or do you fish each species a bit different? I got to tell you, wherever you're at, you should be near weeds. Always weeds. Remember, December is, and part of January is, the fall bite continued. So if you fished it all in the fall, that's where it's going to start out again. And wherever there's weeds, because this fall, everything was pushing to the weeds. Now, granted, some of the crappies and bluegills have dumped into the basin, but that doesn't mean deep. That's a relative term. We're not talking lake trout depths. We're talking, they might push offshore instead of 8 or 10. They might be in 12 to 14 on a lot of lakes. And there are some lakes that they go super deep, and I drive by them for the most part if I can. So that's the whole thing. But I fish them all the same in the weeds. Sometimes the crappies will be in the weeds near the mud. The walleyes will be the hard bottom areas with the perch, and that's basically it. And we didn't do a deep dive on bluegills. We'll do a little bit here, and then I like to bring, whether I'm using plastics or just a tungsten jig, I get the basic food groups: maggots, waxworms, and minnows. I mean, you're going to the bait shop anyway. You might as well load up, and why take a chance? Sometimes one maggot on one of these little pin fry. That thing's so small. One maggot is perfect on there. But if you're fishing big bluegills, and I've seen this many times, if you're targeting a trophy just for fun to catch and release, then I'll use a little bigger. I'll put a waxworm on maybe a broom bug like this, and this. Yeah, let me put it in the camera here where you can see it, and a whole waxworm or two on that. Bulking up bait, and snip the tip of the waxworm off, so you make a little bit of a plume, a cloud, make the fish's mouth water. They're going to come over and just annihilate it. And, so really good stuff right there. And minnows, there's times minnows are fun to use. I've actually had crappies, and I know the crappies using Mega Live in down mode is very, very crystal clear. It's arguably the best in down mode, and fall asleep next to a minnow. Then you drop a tungsten rattle spoon last year when I was testing them out, and they come over and smash it, and that's after dark. So sometimes they feel the comfort of being close to their food, but they'll take a nap next to it. It's just crazy like that. But so a couple of things too. Bluegills. Basically the difference I see, Sam, and you probably too. Bluegills sometimes they're on the basin, but they're primarily on the edge of the break, where the break hits, that wall hits the basin. They like to work that. They're creatures of edges with binocular vision, sifting out the same meals. But they're not going to, for the most part, be out in the middle of nowhere. I have been on lakes where they're out in the middle of nowhere. But
they seem to hang towards the cover a little bit more.
Absolutely. And bluegills, crappies, pink, glow, metallics are really good. But bluegills, you can really make them angry. Pink, orange, gold is arguably one of the best bluegill colors in this neck of the woods. And, colors like sneeze, I fished a few places in Iowa. I fished in Wisconsin, from Winnebago to the northern part to the UP, lower Michigan, in North Dakota, and bright colors really get them going. A combination of gold and things that look like insect life, like bloodworms, red and black. So that stuff's very important, just to keep it going.
We got a question about early ice sleds, and I want to comment on this one because I finally made the investment in it last year, especially with, we were fishing all season up north here last year, but a lot of it was four-wheeler and walking. I think I only drove the truck on the ice a couple times last year, but I bought the Otter Pro small extra wide, I believe is the exact SKU of it. And it was perfect for me. At first I thought I wanted the small, but that extra wide that they have just gives you a little bit more room. It's no heavier to pull. But being a pro model, I was able to put my hitch for my four-wheeler on it along with the tow strap. It's durable as heck. I put the high facts on it so I didn't scrape it up with no snow last year across parking lots and whatnot. And that has been, I had so much fun fishing out of that last year, just keeping it simple. Weather was nice. That Otter Pro extra wide small is key. Perfect size.
Well, I agree, and I have one. I even have that smaller one. I love it. And if it doesn't fit in there, I don't take it. And so if you're on foot, you really have to pick and choose. And I'd rather bring less. I've brought too much all the time. I'm guilty of that. But sometimes less, 3 rods, if you know what you're going to fish for, and just go for it. And then so people are asking at the St. Paul Ice Show, you'll find me in the Northland, in Otter booth, Razor augers, as not to mention, I'll be there helping out. So make sure to check, and especially those 3 booths. And I'd be glad to help you out if you have any questions about where to go, what to do, what to buy. And then who has caught more trophy fish, Pro or Heather? I like that.
I know this one. Heather, for
I
sure,
would have to say, I don't know what it is. I don't sit still long enough. I keep moving. I jig too much. She catches big fish. And we were at a photo shoot, if you remember, in North Dakota, and she was there. She caught a walleye that almost touched 30 inches, and the hook, she was pulling it up, and it got off. She stuck her arm down the hole and grabbed it under the chin and ripped it up out of the hole. And so, you never underestimate the power of women who love fishing, because they are going to catch any guy anytime.
No, we were just talking about that show with Craig, or that shoot with Craig Dickmeyer, and I remember I was snapping away. Craig caught a giant fish too, and I was snapping away some pictures of him, and then all of a sudden I hear Heather scream, and she's got this walleye lifted up in the air, and that was a fun day.
That was fantastic, and it was kind of raw out there, but and in line color, clear. I use clear. So in my neck of the woods, it might be different. If you're on a tannic stained place, you can go dark line. I want clear, but I'm going to check out. I'm going to use green braid, but I'll have a fluorocarbon leader. And sometimes you don't have to. Lake of the Woods maybe, or Overwatch. And then cleats. I like cleats that go on your boots. There's a lot of different ones. I'm not sponsored by them, but I still like the Catulas. And I'm going to be checking out a lot of stuff. They stay on. You could dart with them, and just good stuff.
A lot of brands, and I think the one you mentioned has it too. But anything with a Velcro strap that goes over the top of the boot too, just seems to really just lock things in place and works well. So,
I want to show everybody. This is we forgot to get Nick to show us his. This is
Nick's got the cool green one.
He had the green one, and so see, I like using tip ups, but I want to reel in my fish here, but I always employ a next. If you can have two rods, have a live bait down on Red Lake. It makes a big difference. It'll add more. It'll put more fish on the ice, and so it's kind of important to have an iFish Pro. Fish is the way we fish, and you definitely got to check them out. But boy, time is flying. So I just want to say we're close to giving away a giveaway here, Sam. But before we do, and remember everybody, if ice is bad in Michigan, if you don't get it, and I know you're going to get it this year, but if it does get bad, come out and visit me. I'm a guide, and I might have a few dates left. I don't have a lot of dates left, but definitely make the trip. It's a lot of fun, and no matter where you're at, if you don't get good ice, I've never not got it. Even last year was terrible everywhere, and we got it. And it's getting close to the winter. But so I want to definitely thank Chesterburg Toyota for being a sponsor of the on-air show. And the thing is it's a state-of-the-art dealership. Whether you're looking for a new car, used one, stop in to say hi to Brian and the gang. And if you just want to get an oil change, they know those guys are awesome. That's Chesterburg Toyota in Bemidji, and then Frank's Great Outdoors in Linwood, Michigan. If you want an otter, they got prices so low I can't even tell you right now. So just look at franksgreatoutdoors.com and check out otter. Shanty Days is the 13th or the 15th at Frank's Great Outdoors. And but if you're in Minnesota, if you're in the Dakotas, just go online. They have smoking deals. And then also I will be at the Ultimate Sports Show Novi, and that's 9th through the 12th. I'm doing seminars. I'm going to be on hand. Fun place, fun people, great people. And then if you're on your way up to Red Lake, whether you're going to Red Lake, Lake of the Woods, or just Black Duck, Bemidji area, stop in at Timberline Sports. Say hi to Carl and the gang there. Tell them Bro sent you for that good, healthy scoop of minnows. Order a pizza, buy some rods and reels, get some clothing, fish monkey gloves, or buy some guns and ammo. They have it all right there. It's unbelievable. You can even get a deer stand there.
Carl on Wednesday here.
Oh, it'll be good. And and they got houses there too. So it's a sports shop. When you go in there, you're gonna look up to the ceiling and down the floor. They got it all. But the best part is you don't have to leave. I mean, eventually you got to leave. You got to go fishing, but they got food there and everything else. So Timberline Sports in Black Duck, and make sure to stop there and take your time, because it's a lot of cool people there. Carl, John will give you sage advice, and then so remember what works is St. Croix and Northland Tackle. Post your early ice picks to St. Croix or Northland Tackle, and you get entered in to win what works. Really cool giveaway. St. Croix panfish combo and some nice tackle. So make sure to check out Win What Works, and you'll be in to win. And then now catch my seminar. Now this is Thursday, the night before the St. Paul Ice Show, December 5th at FM Walleyes Unlimited in Fargo. That's at 7:00, and that's at the is that the Ramada? That's at the Ramada. Well, look at FM Walleyes Unlimited at 7:00 in Fargo. I'll be there doing a seminar, and then we'll catch you at the shore. There's at St. Paul. There's more information online at fmwalleyes.com. And now, finally, the moment we've been waiting for, Sam.
We got a winner. Yep.
We got a winner.
So tonight's winner of the razor of, I think, popular choice or his choosing, depending if he commented the size he wanted, would be Adam Schlager. So congratulations, Adam.
All right, Adam.
A razor. Good deal. So I'll reach out and get your shipping information and then get that over to Jace Peterson, and he will work on getting that shipped out to you.
This is fantastic. Congratulations, Adam. And I want to thank Sam for being a friend and a co-host of the show. My producer, Brooke, which keeps us seamless in creative marketing. Heather Brosdahl. Check out some of these videos we got. They're fantastic. And we'll see you next Wednesday. And we got a special guest coming up next Wednesday, Tim Mossberg from Fish Monkey Gloves, a tenacious guy that makes some wonderful designs. So you want to tune in on that because he's got some pretty cool stuff. And happy fish giving, everybody, and enjoy time with your family. And don't forget to turn into a Marvel person with some Fish Monkey gloves. Pretty cool stuff. And thanks for watching, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.